So, tonight on Nick Lifestyle, I go to Ronald Regan's old high school. We're going to see some of the town's history. Sit back and relax, everybody. Enjoy tonight's video. Alright, so let's go inside Ronald Reagan's old high school. Paving the way, coast to coast, automobile travel. So thanks to the preservance of visionaries and entrepreneurs like Carl Fisher, Henry Joy, Jensen, and W.C. Durant, aggressive dreams and plans of evolution will always remain a mainstay of a great country. So Carl Fisher was an American entrepreneur and a promotional genius. An Indiana native, Fisher helped develop the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and operated what is believed to be the first automobile dealership in the United States. So Fisher was the owner of the Pressed O Life Company, which supplied nearly every headlamp, used on automobiles in the United States. Manufacturing plants were all over the country to supply the demand. Joy. So Henry Joy graduated from Yale University in 1892 and began his school as an office boy with Pennsylvania Car Company. His involvement with Packard came about when he bought one of his cars. Impressed by his reliability, he visited James Ward Packard at his Warren, Ohio headquarters. Packard told him he and his brothers William Dorard Packard needed more capital. Joy enlisted a group of investors, and on October 2nd, 1902, the Ohio Automobile Company became Packard Motor Car Company and was moved to Detroit, Michigan, with James Packard as president. Joy eventually became general manager and later chairman of the board. So, Jensen was born in Slesvig, Denmark, to a wealthy farming family. In 1884, he immigrated to the United States. He worked in Florida and Iowa before moving to Chicago. Working his way through the Chicago park system, Jensen became superintendent of the 200-acre Humboldt Park in 1895. His design work in Chicago can be seen at Lincoln, Douglas, and Columbia's parks. In 1920, he started his own landscape architecture firm, working on private estates and Montecoupo parks, including 4 Edsel Ford homes, a Dearborn Inn, a Henry Ford Hospital, and a Henry Ford Museum. Jensen directed the beautification of the Lincoln Highway's ideal section. This was the ultimate attempt to create a model roadway in the highest sense of an American applicant. So William Durant of General Motors, the corporate sponsor of the Lincoln Highway. A high school dropout, Durant went from working in his grandfather's lumber yard in Flint, Michigan, to being a partner in a leading manufacturer of horse-drawn carriages, the Durant Carriage Company. In 1904, he became the general manager of Buck, By 1908, he had formed General Motors Corporation, which then purchased Buick, Pontiac, and Cadillac. Accusations that, sorry if I'm not saying that word correctly, overextended Durant financially, and his interest in GM was eventually taken over by banks in 1910. Durant then partnered with Louis Chevrolet, and with profits from Chevrolet Motors, was able to buy into GMC again. So William Durant of General Motors was just one of several corporate sponsors of Lincoln Highway. The first, in 1913, the Lincoln Highway Association holds its inaugural meeting. After Carl Fisher, he proposes the coast-to-coast walk highway. So Fisher was also the creator of the Dixie Highway, a north-south route extending from Upper Michigan to Miami, Florida, providing perfect access to the newly developing vacation hotspot. In 1914, first seeding mile is constructed near Malta, Illinois. Nowhere else in the contrast between sticky mud and concrete as dramatic. The Lehigh Portland Cement Company donated the cement to be used in building this first ever concrete mile. 19, this Army embarks on a celebrated I hope I'm saying that word right. Anyway, crossing of the entire highway as a test of national preparedness. The local Star reports that a young Private Philip Fred Golick fell madly in love with Miss Mabel Ruth Kelly on Saturday night, borrowed $5 for a license, and married her on Sunday. 1922, the Ideal Session is built on Illinois-Indiana border. It was built from concrete, 10 inches thick, and was 40 inches wide to allow the 4 lanes of traffic, exemplifying what highways could be. Jensen directed the beautification process, which included landscaping, lightening an adjacent footpath, and a 100-foot right-of-way. Scouts of America placed 3,000 mile markers at every mile across the coast-to-coast highway as a final tribute to Lincoln. 175 markers were placed across the state of Illinois. Fewer than 24 remained in their original location. Many were relocated when higher speed curves were widening projects disrupted replacement. Illinois is the first state the Lincoln Highway is designated as a National Scenic Byway by the United States Department of Transportation. So now let's talk about the Lincoln Highway Radio Hour. Rita Hayworth was born Margarita Carmen Casino in Brooklyn, New York. In 1918, she was trained as a dancer from childhood, was on stage by the age of 12. Hayworth was signed by Fox Studios in 1935, then freelanced for several years before signing with Columbia Pictures. Hayworth framed as a beautiful redhead arose from the new film technique. Vincent Prince was born in St. Louis, Missouri in 1911. Vincent was educated in Yale in art history and fine art. He made his film debut in 1938. He established himself as a continent player, notable in Lori 1944, directed by Otto Preminger. Then in the 1950s, he moved into horror films, enjoying his role in the successful Courtesy House of Wax in 1953. The first 3D film to land in the year's top 10 at the North American box office. And then the classic monster movie, The Fly, in 1958. Price was also a noted gourmet cook and art lover. Zaya Barr was an iconic American actor and comedian. While attending acting school, Lucy was outshone by another pupil, Beata Davis. She went home a few weeks later when drama coaches told her that she had no future at all as a performer. In 1948, Barr was cast as Liz Cooper, a wacky wife, and My Favorite Husband, a radio program for CBS. When CBS asked her to develop this successful program for television, she insisted on working with her husband, Isaiah Encina. The show eventually became I Love Lucy. The show is often described as an early example of the term beefcake due to its muscular, askew, and indifferent on-screen manner. Unlike his contemporaries and his many successors, Mature always brought a sense of tenderness, doubt, and sympathy to his characters. The highway became the route of choice for transnational audio speed records, mostly sponsored by small automobile companies trying to compete with General Motors and Ford. The first record was in 1916 when Bobby Hammond set the mark at 6 days, 10 hours, and 59 minutes. Over the years, this dim-witted to 4 days, 14 hours. The most famous ones were by L.B. Miller in 1925, 1 to 2 hours and 45 minutes. And in 1926, he made a round trip, stopping only 1 minute in New York City before heading back west behind the wheel, the Flying Lady. 25th, 1915, Andy King, a former race car driver, movie star, set out from Los Angeles to be the first woman to cross the continent alone. She drove the Illinois Lincoln Highway, and soon after successfully completing the journey, production started on a movie version entitled The Race Coast starting Victor. Oh, okay. Well, this is the auditorium. Very nice in here. Okay, so the prairie. So Nakusa Grasslands. So Nakusa Grasslands, a 3,600-acre mosaic consisting of prairies, savannas, woodlands, and wetlands. These areas are owned and operated by the Natural Conservancy or managed by a talented group of staff and volunteers. The Nature Conservancy and the individuals who tended to the Nakusa Grasslands Reserve have created an ecosystem that is truly unique. Restoring farmland high quality, one of the prairies, back to wild prairies is a challenge. It involves more work than simply constructing a fence, planting seeds, and letting things grow. It takes constant management by dedicated individuals. The staff and volunteers at Nakusa have worked to reduce hundreds of native plant species across 3,600 acres, creating such a hard time distinguishing it from a natural prairie. Now we're at the Earth from Space. So Florida Everglades. The Florida Everglades was created by water flowing toward the southern tip of Florida. The view captured by the Landsat 7 satellite orbiting 436 miles above the Earth shows us why the Everglades is often called the river of glass. Here interfered wavelengths show vegetation. Colors have been assigned to the grand vegetation types, such as bright green for grasses. Cutting across the image is a tsunami trail, a highway running west of Miami. Life in a Caribbean. Orbiting satellites can detect plants and other organisms. The islands of Cuba is home to a great variety of tropical vegetation, made possible by warm, moist air arriving from the east. Also in the image, light blue indicates the shallow ocean waters from waters on Cuba, Florida, and the Bahamas. California, forest fires. Forest fires started by natural forces or by humans, often endanger cities. 7 fires, some of the largest ever in California, are seen burning in this image. The dry Santa Ana winds blowing off the Mojave Desert carried these fires to populated areas, destroying houses and causing a number of deaths. Alright, it's time to watch our look. Okay, so now I'm going into the Unchanged Land exhibit. Alright, so let's talk about the fur trade. All across North America, there will long before contact with the European trade for these prize European goods came through the northeastern tribes whose lands face the sea. They controlled all access to these new and unusual goods being brought by mostly French ships. The French soon realized that prime fur, lead corn, maple syrup, feathers, and other desired goods were coming out of interior Indian lands. The tribes beyond those the eastern seaboard, soon the French were establishing trade relations directly with Indian tribes deep between the North American interior and including the Sauk. And then in 1763, the French and the Indian War settled conflicts between the French and the British in both Europe and the New World of the Americas. Victorious in the war, Britain became identified with trading companies. By 1750, the Sauk were trading shortly with the British-owned Northwest Company based in Canada. Europe's demand for furs was what knits. The Indians exchanged deer, raccoon, muskrat, otter, and beaver belts for blankets, cloth, wooden axes, bearded tools, and a variety of weapons. Along with prime furs, traders were also accepted deer, tallow, feathers, beeswax, corn, and lead, which was used by the Indians for fletching weights and ornaments, pretty much. The Sauk. Like most Indian tribes, the Sauk were hunters, gatherers, farmers, and fierce warriors whose lives and environments were ever-changing. Being adaptable to change was critical for survival. Warrior tradition recalls that just prior to European contact in the 1600s, the Sauk Valley lived between the Saginaw Valley of Michigan. So in 1776, the Sauk main village was located along the Wisconsin River. And comprise roughly 90 longhouses of bark and pole construction. British military captain Jonathan Carver described it as the largest and best built Indian town that he ever saw. The town's regular and spacious streets added to his impression, and their neighbors the fox and kickaboo spoke similar dialects keepers to readily become allies. Well, before the French and Indian War in 1763, the Sauk had formed an alliance with the Fox against the French. The French defeated the alliance, forcing them to retreat to eastern Iowa. Shortly thereafter, the Sauk returned to Wisconsin, where they settled on the lower Wisconsin River. By 1750, the Sauk relocated even further south into Illinois, positioning themselves on the Great Mississippi River between the Rock and Des Moines rivers. By 1846, the Sauk had grown to 5,000 strong and settled into 3 or 4 villages. Some months, the Sauk was settled in the large, permanent village of the Longhouses. The Longhouse was a traditional structure of the northwestern Indian tribes. They were as large as 40 feet. So women did have to grow stuff while men were building. So women planted corn, beans, squash, melons, pumpkins, and tobacco. When winter finally broke and steady spring-like temperatures encouraged maple tree sap to flow, the Sauk gathered in the sugar camp. Collecting sap and boiling it down to maple sugar was the year's first heavy task. Small hunting parties began bringing in game for fresh food. By April, the Sauk were returning to their villages, where by late May through early June, crops were pleased and winter deaths were buried on bluffs high above the village. Throughout the summer, men steadily hunted and fished. A village of hundreds of people required constant supply. Everyone had to be on hand for fall harvest, no matter how far afield the hunts took them. These large Sauk villages were occupied for decades until nearby firewood went out or the village became unsanitary. Responsibility of the men. Fish and deer provided food and clothing. Hides of animals also provided goods for trade. In the fall after harvest, men would purchase supplies on credit from traders, then travel off into Iowa by horse or canoe to hunt buffalo. They hunted other game for a month or two before gathering with the families in winter villages, small dome-shaped bark houses situated in sheltered valleys. The trader from whom they borrowed the prize on credit would travel among scattered miniature villages, collecting payment in foods and other Sauk produce goods. Rules of Sauk society. Sauk tribal members were organized along extended family lines. 5 to 30 closely related individuals might occupy a single longhouse. Each house was a functioning economy unit comprised of a married couple, their children, and eventually their children's spouses. Children born into their father's clan would marry someone of a different clan. Sons who married went off to live with the families of their new wives. The men of the longhouse hunted together, while the women cared for the house and fields. The house and its furnishings were owned by the women in charge of household functions. Politically, there we go. The tribes was divided into groups for peace and for war. So, peace group leaders inherited offices. The chiefs was that of a monitor and not looked upon as powerful position. By the early 19th century, chiefs like Kakuk obtained power through ability rather than inheritance. A war group. 2 leaders were recognized for this group. Beyond making decisions related to war, winter hunting, and grounds, and how the Sauk deal with the other tribes, the war chiefs commanded the camp police who enforced decisions of the tribal council. The police could destroy property of tribal rule breakers without reprimand to themselves, elated by will of perceived kinship ties. The Sauk tribe was compromised of 12 individual clans: bald eagle, bear, bear potato, black pats, deer, great lake, panther, ringed perch, sturgeon, swan, thunder, or wolf. Clan regulations guided many aspects of life, including marriage and inheritance of political office. A most important clan function was ritual in nature, centered on semi-annual ceremonies and the selection of the overall tribal chief. That selected individual could emanate from the sturgeon clan, only with less chiefs being selected from other clans. Other tribes, at times motivated by vengeance, were woven into the fabric of Sauk rituals and ceremonies, which were a large focus of Sauk life. At the age of 16, young boys might find themselves involved in a raiding party, after which the desire to achieve a warrior status became paramount. Prior to a raid, its leaders fasted to obtain a vision. Warriors and young raiders were then requisited for the attack. Occasionally, women went as cooks, but more often than not, the younger male participants with little raiding experience served as cooks, since they could also serve as lookouts. And festival greeted the returning raiding party. If defeated, the raid participants split up and returned quietly to the village on their own. Captives, if aged or infirm, were killed immediately, which others were quickly adapted to the tribe. Women forming the ties through marriage, men and forming ties through joining the war party. The upper world was home to the great mentor spirit. The middle world was here on Earth's surface, but the lower world, of course, on the ground. Spirits were associated with the four constellations, plus numbers of lots of spirits. Collectively, my bad. All spirits played an important role. Everyday life and ceremony of Sauk existence, mainly daily activities, planting, harvesting, hunting, music, games, etc., has spiritual aspects. All respect to the Sauk people of the past and the descendants of today's religion and ceremony will not be a topic explored in depth within the scholarly. So, if successful, the description of the raid was sent ahead for council approval. Dances and festivals greeted the returning raiding party. If defeated, the raid participants split up and returned quietly to a village on their own. Captives, if aged or infirm, were killed immediately, while others were quickly adapted to the tribe. Women forming the tribes, their ties through marriage, men forming ties to join it. As Arnak, the center of the world. By the middle of the 1700s, the Sauk had moved from the lower Wisconsin River to a site on the eastern shores of the upper Mississippi River, known today as Walk Island, Illinois. There the Sauk developed the largest village of the time, and named it the Sanuk. At its height, Sanuk sustained 2,000 to 3,000 inhabitants, who cultivated up to 800 acres of glacier-fertilized land. A handful of additional Sauk villages were established up nearby, but none approached the grandeur of Saukenuk. Then another village once stood south of Sanuk across the Rock River, but was abandoned after many years of use. It might have been the village that were born by American forces during the Revolutionary War in reconciliation with Sauk's support of the British. Sanuk was more than just a village. It was like a capital. It was where most Sauk lived. It was some of the world. It was like no other village in the Midwest with 100 huge longhouses, similar in construction to those built by Huron in Ontario, Icarus in New York. Houses are much larger and taller than structures normally seen in the Midwest and range from 15 to 40 feet wide and 40 to 100 feet long. Built of heavy wood frames covered with elm bark, they turn the rain very well. The village itself is regularly laid off into lots, blocks, streets, and alleys with 2 public squares or esplanades. And photo by a brush palisade with gates for entrances. Several brutal grounds were situated on a high bluff above the village. Most natives of eastern North America, the stock relied on the 3 sisters, corn, beans, and squash, a gift from the Creator to sustain life. The 3 plants grew harmoniously and relied on each other for their well-being. They represented the interconnectedness of all life. The sisters were entrusted to the tribal women to select the proper sites for planting. Border, river bottom, and food plains have rich soils from always rain floods. Also, the pruning of the previous year's dry, dead stalks return nutrients to the soil. Digging and turning the earth, the woman shaped small, flat-top mounds, roughly 3 feet in diameter and 12 inches high to ensure proper water drainage. Autumn leaves mixed into the planting moved soil, created compost. They planted 5 to 10 corners selected from last year's harvest in each mound. When the corn plants had grown to 6 or more inches tall, the woman planted climbing beans at the base of the corn stalks along with seeds of 7 kinds of squash. The growing corn stalks provided protective shade for the squash and pores for the beans to climb. The beans added nitrogen to the soil, which kept the corn healthy. The sprawling leaves and vines of the squash shaded the mound, preventing growth of nutrient-draining weeds, keeping the soil moist while deterring extension from heavy rains. The brightly hairs of the squash serve as interest deterrents to all 3 plants. Yielded more calories per acre than other crops, and when combined with beans provide a high-quality source of protein. Besides, many varieties of climbing beans, a wider range of squash will enjoy acorn, honey pane, and zucchini, sunflower, journalism, undercoats, tobacco, and a word I do not know how to pronounce, Gourds, were also cultivated. Potatoes, watermelons, and sweet corn were also introduced through contact with Euro-Americans were added to the plantings. To trade, the stock flavored flint, flour, and soda popcorn. That's interesting. Although the women did the planting, entire families were on hand to participate in the fall harvest. The crops had to be quickly gathered, dried, and stored in earth pits, which were dug into the ground and around houses. Entries into the pits are carefully covered with earth and disguised to ward off both animal and human intruders. Winter crops, properly prepared and cached away, stock could comfortably survive a long, hard winter. Okay, yo, so today we are having chocolate chip pancakes and homemade corned beef hash. So let's give this a try, yo. Oh my god, yeah, good. Oh, got stingy taste to it. I like it. Oh my god, yeah. Yeah. Now that's the best corned beef hash I've ever had. I had it at that North of the World location. Wow, this is great. And now, on with the show. The geographic range of interior tribal relations is impressive. People and goods traveled from the Atlantic shores on the east of the plains and the west, north, and from Canada, south to the Gulf of Mexico. No group of native isolated existence, including the Sauk. Interior relations of the tribes were for the most part peaceful, but sometimes hostile, and everything between. Trade between groups was above all essential, forcing the finding of a common ground even between and holistic peoples. When in Michigan, the Sauk helped others raid the Dakota tribe in Wisconsin. Then, when living in Wisconsin, the Sauk allied with the Dakota and the Fox against tribes in Illinois. After moving to Illinois, the Sauk put pressure against the Illinois' confrontation of tribes, as well as the Missouri and Osagai peoples. The Missouri and Osagai continue to be long-term enemies of the Sauk after they settled the Rock Island area, spreading even more conflict and adding to the disquiet. The French and British armies and enlisted warriors from various tribes were making war. So pressures of the fur trade led the Icarus to first the Sauk. Western the Saginaw Bay area of Michigan. Friends as well as enemies were first removed. As in 67, a Sauk could be found in the Green Bay, Wisconsin area, which is where the Green Bay Packers are. Fun fact. Nearby were the Fox, Kickapoo, Winnebago, and what I do not know how to pronounce, which is that one, P-O-T. Alliances were established between these people. The Fox remained closest to the Sauk due to ties and language, intermarriage, and shared traditions. So the 1733 alliance between the Sauk and Fox against the French led to a disaster that forced both tribes across the Mississippi into the eastern Iowa. Ultimately, both tribes moved back into southwest Wisconsin, then onto Rock Island, Illinois. A Sauk and Fox alliance lasted well up to 1850. As well as floods, all tribes had enemies, which was essential for societies in which warriors had to continually prove themselves. A Sauk has several enemies which change over time due to economic and always external pressures. Relations with Europeans and Americans. For the Indians, relations with the Europeans and later the Americans were a extraordinary mix of good and bad. The French and the British bought good, many new goods to trade, but they also bought bad. Alcohol, fierce competition for foods, and depletion of resources. The Americans pushed the frontier ever further west, displacing more and more tribes. Comparatively, the Euro-American influences generated interior tribal warfare, corruption of traditional tribal life, and the spread of unknown diseases, which led to depopulation on all sides. So only French fur traders were the first to make contact with Indian tribes and quickly married into the native societies. Then came the Jesuit priests with their religion. In 1640, the French Jesuit priests provided the earliest mention of Sauk peoples. Even after the French were displaced by the British and they by the Americans, Indian trade remained largely French. For many years, the Sauk served as fur trade middlemen between the Fox peoples and the French. The Sauk secretly supported the Fox in their war with the French. In 1733, the Sauk only sided with the Fox, and both were driven into eastern Iowa by the French. In 1737, all was forgiven, and the Sauk returned to Seattle along the lower Wisconsin River by 1750. A Sauk had moved south into Illinois, found in Sauconic. The first real meeting between the Sauk and Americans was not a good one. During the Revolution War, many Sauk had allied themselves with the British. The westernmost engagement of the Revolutionary War involved Colonel John Montgomery. Black Hawk was only 13 years old. Some Sauk continued to ally with the British long after Americans became their new father. During the same period, Spain dominated all lands west of Mississippi. Prior to the Louisiana purchase by the United States, were also trading partners of the Sauk. Then, in 1667, Father Elias, thank you, a Jesuit priest, observed that the Sauk were more savage than all the other peoples he had met, that they were a populous tribe. Although they had no fixed dwelling place, being wanderers and vagabonds in the first. 2 years later, Father Aguilas was providing religious instruction to Sauk in the village. Tours of the trade. Pick. The earliest island had a European tour to be used in borrowing into the earth. Probably T. Blatch's family. When Illinois became a state in 1818, the settlers came to the southern part of the state under terms of the 1804 treaty. The Sauk could stay in their homeland and at the Sauconic until land was surveyed and stored. The Red Watch in northwestern Illinois drove settlement north. Settlers moved into Sauconic during the spring of 1849. Arriving before the Sauk returned for the winter hunt, the settlers occupied the area in and around the Sauconic. The land was already cleared and Sauk houses stood on it, settling. It would be easy for the newcomers. Some lived in Sauk houses while building log cabins. The first four settlers were William T. Blatcher, George Davenport, Woodson Fashionman, and William Carr. 32-year-old Blatcher, the first to stake a claim in the hills above Sauconic. On October 19, 1849, perhaps unknown to him, his claim included the Chippewa Cemetery, which is the Sauk place of the dead. Black Hawk heard that families of whites had come to Sauconic, and this led to an inevitable conflict. He believed the land was to Sauconic. In early January 1830, William Blatcher and Jane Case wanted to marry. However, no justice of peace lived closer than Galena. So William traveled to Galena and had himself sworn in as a justice by Galena Justice of the Peace. Returning home, Blatcher swore in fellow settler Joel Wells, who on January 30th married William and Jane. On November 22nd, William Newton Blatcher became the first American born in Rock Island, Illinois. Blatcher family history tells that when Black Hawk returned, he came at night, setting up temporary shelters in the settlers' fields. When the settlers awoke and saw the Indian encampment, they were frightened and called a meeting to decide what to do. During the meeting, an agitated Sauk woman warned that Black Hawk would kill them if they stayed. Fortunately for the settlers, Black Hawk soon left. So, the 1804 Treaty. A small party of Sauk warriors went to St. Louis to free another Sauk warrior in jail for killing an American. The four men expected to pay for the death of the American with goods. The victim's family, which was common practice among Sauk, a party met with their white father, William Henry Harrison, governor and superintendent of Indian Affairs, the District of Louisiana in Indiana Territory. Harrison insisted on the land, not goods, as payment for the American death. Only tribal council members were empowered to negotiate land treaties. Not being council members, the men were caught off guard. Much food and drink, however. Union lands on the east and west sides of the Mississippi River, which perhaps unwillingly included the Sox Party man village, talking to present-day Rock Island, Illinois, with a major swath of land in Missouri, Illinois, and Wisconsin. Besides, fleeing the jail warrior, the party received $2,234.50 worth of goods, plus an amenity of $1 million. $600 for stock and $400 for funds. A treaty allowed the Sox to stay on the land until it was surveyed and stored by the U.S. government. The 4 warriors reported that when the prisoner was set free, he began to run and was shot dead. They also claimed the amount of land given up was mispresented to them. The tribal council, which alone had the authority to spell Indian, lands a free to accept, and thereby validated the treaty. The agent for the treaty, which the Indians were eventually forced to acknowledge, created negative relations between the U.S. and Sox, and had long-lasting effects. Subsequent years saw the Sox divide. One party, the British band, led by Blackhawk, remained hostile toward the United States. The other, Peace Party, led by Hitchcock, followed a policy of accommodation. A well-regulated Matilda. At the time of the Blackhawk War, federal law required able-bodied males between the age of 18 and 45 be ready to serve in a Matilda to deal with national and local threats or emergencies. The White Army of the day was small and scattered among a number of frontier posts. States and territories passed similar legislation to organize citizen and military force and in some cases set up formula Matilda. Settlers. Many first settlers in Illinois were German or English descendant, or more often they were new immigrants or had moved from the east or mid-south after the years of land that they had settled there. And no matter where they came from, life for settlers coming to new land was difficult. Land needed to be cleared, cabins built, walls dug, and fierce plot and fence. All the while, for many fear of Indians in the area, her cousin, adding tension to her life. The land offered all the raw materials that were needed. The settlers only had to bring a few hand tools. Feeling axes, blood axes, foes, mouths, augers, kites or wedges, draw knives, and shaving horses. These were broken or torch-draw wooden parts. It was hard work that progressed quickly. On to Sox, the new settler changed the fate of the land quickly and on a large scale. The Sox lived closer to land, more harmony with nature. Settlers saw nature as a rivalry, something to battle for survival. The different view left long-term marks. Dixon, which I did talk about actually. So I will not be talking to him about this in my video today. And all this stuff, that's not too important. Alright, you guys, so now we will be moving on to our next exhibit. So, most Americans lived on farms. At the start of the 19th century, only 6% of the population lived in towns or cities larger than 2,500, with a percentage that had remained constant for more than a century. Our steam power machines and factories had already turned Britain into the world's leading industrial power. The United States is still an agricultural society. Manufactured goods were made by hand in homes and in small Austinian shops or were imported from Britain. So then the only farmhouse. Most farmers and their families spent much of the first years on new land buildings, a wooden farmhouse, and various outbuildings. The house often was just a single room with a large fireplace although sometimes a small bedroom was walled off. Most activities took place on the main floor. An upstairs loft provided sleeping space that was warmer in the colder months because of rising heat from the fireplace. Sometimes a leaning shed is attached to the house to keep animals sheltered from the weather. The cost of the family farm. Establishing a new farm could be expensive. In 1843, arriving settlers could buy 80 acres of land in Illinois for $1.25 per acre. Cider corn seed cost 30 cents a bushel. I don't know how to say that word. And one bushel was needed for each 4 acres planted. One bushel of wheat seed was used per acre at 80 cents a bushel. Wood wares, about $1 per 100, had to be cut and hard to fence. In patches, grazing animals had to be kept contained. Also needed were plows, tools, a $55 team. The incredible egg. Chicken eggs were stored over long periods of time by using water glass or liquid sodium. The water glass was mixed with 10 parts, cooled boiled water, and put in a large stone crock. Fresh eggs were whipped with a flannel cloth and placed in a situate in a solution. The crock was then covered and placed in a cool place, such as a root cellar. The eggs would keep as long as 6 months. To see if the eggs were good, they placed in water. Good eggs do not float. Okay, so over here we have the milking and cows. Only frontier farmers usually kept 1 or 2 cows, mainly for milk rather than meat. A producing cow had to be milked by hand morning and night. The milk was used for drinking, cooking, making butter, buttermilk, and cheese, as it was difficult to keep the milk from spoiling. It was used quickly. After butter spoiled, it was also used as a lubricant. It was freely stored as Western grease, to be used in wagon wheel hubs and other friction-producing surfaces. Now we are in Ronald Regan's classroom. Back then, you could actually go in there. This is just like a regular classroom. I don't know, did I dare to ring that bell? Fuck it. Yeah, that was kind of cool. Okay, now we are in Ronald Regan history room. Ronald Regan at the ranch. Regan loved nothing more than communing with his natural surroundings. He was happiest when spending time at his ranch house. That's a Ronald Regan at the Franklin Mint's skilled craftsmen have captured in this magnificent bronze sculpture. Not the man with the trappings of the Oval Office, the military excerpts, but the man in a comfortable cowboy hat and boots, the man who chops his own firewood, builds his own fences, grooming, and his own horses. The man who talks straight and rides tall, a treasure link to the America of legend. The American West held a special spirit of mystery and adventure to the president. He realized the power of this place. Perhaps it was his quiet communion with nature listening to sights and sounds, and feeling at peace when he was there. That helped him to turn a troubled nation around and build a legacy that will last. So there's really nothing too much other than that. So just looking around, looking at some pictures. Fun fact though, Ronald Reagan's favorite snack was jelly beans. Ronald Wilson Reagan was the youngest of two sons, born to John Edward and Neil Wilson Reagan. John was an Irish Catholic Democrat who had a number of jobs in his lifetime. Now, of his Scotch-English descendant, was a Protestant and natural do-gooder who inspired her love for the theater into her son Ronald. Dutch, as President Reagan is known to his friends, was nicknamed by his father, who reported to the Tampico Tornado newspaper at the birth of his 10-pound son. For a little bit of a fat Dutchman, he sure makes a lot of noise. When President Reagan was 2 years old, his father's job took the family to the south side of Chicago, where they remained for 2 years. The family moved to Greensburg, Illinois in 1915, and remained there until 1918, moving to Monmouth, Illinois for 1 year, returning to Tampico in 1919. In 1920, they moved to Dixon, Illinois, where President Reagan remained until he was 21 years old. President Reagan graduated from North Dixon High School in 1928, having served as student body president. He was also active in such I don't know how to say that word. He was in a lot of activities, like, for example, football, swimming, track, and drama. To save money for his college education, President Ronald Reagan worked in the summer on a construction job for 60 hours each week, and worked 15 more hours each week as a lifeguard in the Walk River, which flows through downtown Dixon, Illinois. President Reagan worked as a lifeguard from 1947 until 1932, and during that 7 years, saved 77 people from drowning. President Reagan attended Yuki College, a small Christian church college located about 60 miles from his hometown of Dixon, Illinois. In Yuki, he worked part-time as a dishwasher to supplement his income, but kept up such extracurricular activities as football and drama club. President Reagan, the member of the fraternity, graduated in 1932. After college, President Reagan began a career in radio sportscasting. His first job was with OC in Davenport, Iowa. At Huron Des Moines, Iowa, he later became the dominant sports voice in the Midwest, giving play-by-play reports on all the major sporting events. After 5 years of radio sporting casting, he was sent to Catalina Island, California, to cover the 1937 spring training session for the Chicago Cubs. While he was in California, a Warner Brothers agent signed him for his first film, Love is on the Air, where he played a radio announcer. So Norm Wyland, stationed in Iowa during World War II, and on the island of Taina. He was there during Pearl Harbor attack and went from there to Tainan, and was there the attack. The NLA took off with the atomic bomb headed for Shahima. Shell Nicholas and ceremonial headpieces for the island of Panhipia and the East Carolina Islands, South Pacific, brought back by Glenn and William. U.S. Navy CB team 7405. By the way, here are some of the pictures in this room. There's not too much. But, yeah, World War II in production. We can posters. And then just like a lot of posters, a lot of flags. And another picture of the outside. Nice. Okay. This is a Walk River Assembly exhibit. A Walk River Assembly Hotel. Horse-drawn buses brought visitors from railroad stations in downtown Dixon to the Walk River Assembly Grounds northeast of the city. So by area of Athenians on a 3-foot anchor circuit in 1888. Assembly became the second largest in the United States. Wow. I'm guessing I missed something here. But yeah, here's like a picture of this, of like a town. Pretty cool, actually. Prior to 1840, settlers had to go to Galena to claim land. Dixon Ferry was the only easy place to cross the Rock River to get to Galena. John Dixon went to Washington in 1840 and got the land office moved to Dixon, a great impetus to his town. Alright, so that was it for this one. Okay, guys, so this is actually the gym. Yeah, this is a gym. Believe it or not. Hey, camera roll. Where is it? It says, please don't touch the children's toys. So, now that's cool. They cannot touch that. Wow, that's cool. Like, oh, the scoreboard. 68. Let's make them. 96. Wow, that's pretty cool. You know, that's how they did it back then. So that's basically it. For the gym. There's not too much to go on in the gym. Is there anything else? There's like really nothing. Looks like the library. It's pretty cool. Hey guys, well, hey, that's gonna end it for me for today. Thank you so much.